We got some breaking news just before you stepped onto set. This coming from Microsoft that basically they're going to cut 9,000 workers in a second wave of major layoffs. It seems like Microsoft is really looking to reduce headcount here.
And look, I think coding assistant as a tool is now pretty well established. It's the fastest growing software category this year. And every software maker has launched, even Google just launched their own coding assistant. So what they're saying is we are not only launching the product, we are actually changing the workflows within our organization. And companies like Microsoft and Google, I mean, they have the highest R&D in spend.
Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy Talk Williams, host and creator of Hip Hop 50th. Let me get my sound right to make sure that you guys can even hear me. I'm just testing it now, and I do apologize in here. I'll turn it up some. Hang on for a second. Let's get that going a little bit more. Okay, that might even be better now. Just give me a second and I'll get right to it. Let's see. I think that is, all right? I think that's about as close as I'm gonna be able to get, but here's the situation. I'm in Starbucks. I'm on the south side of Chicago. I do apologize, guys. I try to reduce the noise. I do have like one of those air filters on my mic, but that's not the point of this. It's really not about my mic. I'll cut it down, but what you guys see me playing in the video, and the title of this live is, are you a knowledge worker? Does AI have you and me in its sightings? Our jobs, our careers, our trajectories, our pathways? That's a question that's real now. Now this little clip that I played, this little Microsoft clip I played off of Bloomberg Technology, I'll run it back, but basically what they're saying is Microsoft is laying off many of their engineers, their developers, and a whole gang of tech people, thousands, like 5,000 to 10,000 of them, because on the back end of that, they are investing in code assistant AIs, all right? I am going to show a quick demo of Claude Code. Claude Code is also a programming or a coding assistant, and that was developed by Dario Amodi and his engineering team. And basically what they do is, what the product does, it assists you with creating the code, developing the code. But let me play this back again so that everybody can hear. At least you have some sound. Like I said, I'll turn my mic off. I apologize, but I am inside of Starbucks, and so you do hear a lot of background noise. But let's get back to the clip. Check it out.
Just before you stepped onto set, this coming from Microsoft that basically they're going to cut 9,000 workers in a second wave of major layoffs. It seems like Microsoft is really looking to reduce headcount here.
And look, I think coding assistant as a tool is now pretty well established. It's the fastest growing software category this year. And every software maker has launched, even Google just launched their own coding assistant. So what they're...
Keep that in mind, guys. Stay with what he says. He says that every one of these tech platforms, all of the big tech giants, okay, they have put money in, their engineers, they're developing, or either they're purchasing the talent to get it done in terms of coding assistance. What that basically means is there's an AI product that will assist and do the coding with you, for you, and you can vibe with the AI coding assistant. I'm going to show a little demo of Claude Code, which is a coding assistant. Now this comes from the company Anthropic, and of course the CEO, the founder of Anthropic, who used to work with OpenAI. Yeah, that group over there, Sam Altman and all of them, the ChatGPT. And actually I think that Dario Amodi helped develop the ChatGPT 2.0 when he was with OpenAI. But this is Claude Code. So this is an example of all of the coding assistants that all of the big tech companies are getting into. Let me run that for you right now so you can get an idea how.
Should we be doing like Big Smile or?
No, Big Smile's creepy.
That's sort of what I think. I'm Boris. I'm an engineer.
I'm Kat. I'm a product manager.
We love seeing what people build with Claude, especially with coding, and we want to make Claude better at coding for everyone. We built some tools, one of which we're sharing today. We're launching Claude Code as a research preview.
Now keep this in mind. Remember how they introduced themselves. The one gentleman is a product engineer. The young lady, she's a product manager. I might have got the titles a little off, but you get what I'm saying. They're there. They help create this tool. Not just them two, of course, as a team, but just check out what this coding assistant can do. And you'll have a sense of why they're sending these developers home.
Claude Code is an agentic coding tool that lets you work with Claude directly in your terminal. We're going to show you an example of it in action.
So we have a project here. It's a Next.js app. Let's open it up in an instance of Claude Code. Now that we've done this, Claude Code has access to all of the files in this repository. We don't know much about this code base. It looks like an app for chatting with a customer support agent. Let's get Claude to help explain this code base to us. Claude starts by reading the higher level files, and then it dives in deeper. Now it's going through all the components in the project. Cool. Here's its final analysis.
So say I was asked to replace this left sidebar with a chat history, and I'm also going to add a new chat button. I'm going to ask Claude to help me out here. We haven't specified any files or paths, and Claude's already finding the right files to update by itself. Claude can also show its thinking, and we can see how it's decided to tackle this problem. Claude's asking me if I want to accept these changes. I'll say yeah. Now Claude's updating the navbar, adding a button and icons as well. Next, it's updating the logic to ensure the saving state works correctly. After a bit, Claude completes the task. Here's a summary of what it's done. Let's take a look at the app. So we're seeing a new chat button and new chat history section on the left. Let's check if I can start a new chat while keeping the previous one saved. I'll try out the new chat button too. Great, it's all working.
Now let's ask Claude to add some tests to make sure that the features we just added work. Claude's asking for permission to run commands. We'll say yes. Claude is making some changes to run these tests. After getting the results, it continues with its plan until all tests pass. After a few minutes, it looks like we're good to go. Now I'm going to ask Claude to compile the app and see if we get any build errors. Let's see what it finds. Claude identified the build errors and is now fixing them. Then it tries to build again. It'll keep going until it works.
Now let's finish everything up by asking Claude to commit its changes and push them to GitHub. Claude creates a summary and a description of our changes. And it'll push the changes to GitHub. That's it. That's an example of what Claude Code can do.
So guys, I'm gonna jump in right there. Did you see that? That is an example of a coding assistant. Whether it be Facebook, what formerly known as Facebook Meta, whether it be Google, whether it be NVIDIA, whether it be Tesla, it doesn't even matter. Or Elon Musk, it doesn't even matter. Whether it be Adobe, it doesn't even matter. Coding assistants are being rolled out, they're being developed, and they're only getting smarter. They're only getting more capable. Let me just remove smarter, because I don't want anybody waste any time telling me, well, AI is not really smart. You're absolutely right. I don't want to get into the semantic game or the semantic gap. What I'm saying to you is the tools themselves are becoming more capable. And so what's happening in the tech world is some engineers, many engineers will still be needed. But when you can lay 5s and 10,000s of tech people off of a Microsoft, of a Meta, of a Google, all of these tech giants, it's letting you know how high up at that level, at that learning level, the knowledge workers are being affected. But it's also going to affect the knowledge workers at the lower level, at the ground floor, such as some of you and definitely me, where everything we do is based on our knowledge. We do not pay our bills or perform our duties or our earnings, our checks, our pay, our salary, our benefits. It's all surrounded around our knowledge, whether that be certifications, whether that be licenses, whether that be college degrees or specialized schooling. It's all knowledge-based. That traditional sense of labor is not what we perform. Now, if you want to say by definition, all types of work is a form of labor, of course it is. But I'm saying in a practical sense, in a real sense, if what we do, what you do, is not really face-to-face with clients, is not really hand-to-hand human interaction with constituents or customers of a particular company, and you can kind of work with a team and you perform particular tasks and you work with another group and it's kind of behind the scenes with the machines and the applications and the developers and the so forth, no matter what level that is, entry level, second tier, on the way up. I would say to you, you need to come up with a contingency plan, or you need to enhance or create a different level of value for yourself, either within that organization or at least in preparation to move to another opportunity if and when that time comes. That's what I'm saying to you. What we just saw right there, anybody without any coding can use. Anybody with no coding background whatsoever. In fact, what I'll tell people is right now is probably the easiest time ever in technology to learn how to code. Listen to what I'm saying. It sounds like it's some irony in there, right? It sounds counterproductive or counterintuitive. Listen to what I'm saying. Because of the advent of AI, because of these coding systems, these coding assistants, because of the LLM, the large language model, whether that be Grok, whether that be Google's Gemini, whether that be OpenAI's ChatGPT, Salesforce Einstein, Adobe Firefly, on and on and on. It has never been a time that somebody with no background or idea of what coding is could probably learn how to code. Why? Because all of a sudden, there's parity. There's an equal playing field, barring the vocabulary, some persistence, some effort, some time spent. You can't escape the work, the learning. But barring that, I can learn just as much about Python in the next 6 months than somebody that casually went through college for it. When I say casually, I mean they weren't as astute and they weren't a devout programmer because of what's available now. That's all I'm getting at. But anyway, like I said, Claude Code is one of the products that was rolled out by Anthropic. And now we're going to listen to the CEO of Anthropic, Dario Amodei, I think that's his name. And he's going to talk about what's coming over the horizon and what's here now, whether you realize it or not, in terms of unemployment, opportunities, and careers with the technology field. So just take a listen to this. And that was his product.
A well-known and respected tech CEO, Dario Amodei, who heads a cutting-edge AI company called Anthropic, is raising alarms tonight about AI's potential impact on employment that could soon be felt. While he says AI can lead to incredible advancements like medical breakthroughs and boost the economy, he believes it could also lead to half of entry-level white-collar jobs disappearing and 10 to 20% unemployment in the next 1 to 5 years. It's something that's been talked about within tech circles for a while, but rarely so starkly and so publicly. I spoke to him just before air about that and other implications he thinks AI may have on society. Dario, you've said that AI could wipe out half of all entry-level white-collar jobs and spike unemployment to 10 to 20%. How soon might that happen?
Well, let's, well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. But just to back up a little bit, you know, I've been building AI for over a decade. And I think maybe the most salient feature of the technology and what is driving all of this is how fast the technology is getting better. A couple of years ago, you could say that AI models were maybe as good as a smart high school student. I would say that now they're as good as a smart college student and sort of reaching past that. I really worry, particularly at the entry level, that the AI models are you know, very much at the center of what an entry-level human worker would do. And so it's hard to estimate, you know, exactly what the impact would be. And you know, there's always this question of adaptation. And you know, these technology changes have happened before, but I think what is striking to me about this AI boom is that it's bigger and it's broader and it's moving faster than anything has before. And so compared to previous technology changes, I'm a little bit more worried about the labor impact simply because it's happening so fast that yes, people will adapt, but they may not adapt fast enough. And so there may be an adjustment period.
You are running an incredibly important company in AI, and you know this better than anybody, or as well as you know, all the names we know, people, Sam Altman and others who are working, Elon Musk in AI. Why are you raising the alarm? Because it's not necessarily, I would think, in your best interest, because a lot of the messages we hear from, at least publicly, from, you know, some AI CEOs and stuff is a little bit more calming, like, you know, these agents are going to be great in your life, and yes, there may be problems, but, you know, writ large, this is a fantastic thing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think the reason I'm raising the alarm is that I think others haven't as much, and you know, I think someone needs to say it. You know, to be clear, and you know, I recognize it's always a difficult balance, right? I'm aware of my position that I'm building this technology while also expressing concerns about it, and you know, the reason I'm doing both of those things is, you know, one, I think the benefits are massive, and you know, we need to find a way to you know, to achieve the benefits and mitigate or prevent the harms. And, you know, the second thing I would say is, look, there are, as you mentioned, 6 or 7 companies in the U.S. building this technology, right? If we stop doing it tomorrow, the rest would continue. If all of us somehow stopped doing it tomorrow, then China would just beat us. And I don't think China winning in this technology is, you know, I don't think that helps anyone or makes the situation any better.
I do want to read something that Sam Altman, your former boss at OpenAI, said in September. He was saying that AI can cause significant, in his words, significant change in labor markets, good and bad. He went on to say that most jobs will change more slowly than most people think. And then he said this, and I want to just read it word for word. He said, many of the jobs we do today would have looked like trifling wastes of time to people a few hundred years ago. But nobody is looking back at the past wishing they were a lamplighter. If a lamplighter could see the world today, he would think the prosperity all around him was unimaginable. And if we could fast forward 100 years from today, the prosperity all around us would feel just as unimaginable. For younger people, I should say lamplighters was actually a job. People went around lighting lamps on the streets. I think a lot of people may not even know what a lamplighter is. But do you think Sam Altman is wrong?
Yeah, so, you know, I think there are some things I agree with about that, and then there are some things that I think are too optimistic. So, you know, I definitely agree that, you know, AI, if we succeed at it, can grow the pie greatly, right? You know, I wouldn't be surprised if you know, economic growth is much higher than it is today as a macroscopic phenomenon, right? That AI allows society as a whole to be more productive. So
let me just say, because you've previously in the past said you've described a future where cancer is cured, the economy grows at 10% a year, the budget is balanced, and 20% of people don't have jobs.
That's exactly what I was getting to, right? Where I agree with all the positive potential. I think that isn't wrong. But I think the quote you just flashed is maybe too optimistic, maybe too sanguine about the ability for people to adapt. People have adapted to past technological changes, but I'll say again, everyone I've talked to has said this technological change looks different. It looks faster. It looks harder to adapt to. It's broader. The pace of progress keeps catching people off guard. And so I don't know exactly how fast, the job concerns are going to come. I don't know how fast people are going to adapt. It's possible it'll all be okay, but I think that's too sanguine an approach. I think we do need to be raising the alarm. I think we do need to be concerned about it. I think policymakers do need to worry about it. If they do worry and they do act, then maybe we can prevent it. But we're not going to prevent it just by saying everything's going to be okay.
Do we as a society even understand the potential inequalities that this may amplify? And also the impact just on I have little kids. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. What do they grow up aspiring to if machines can do pretty much everything better? What does it do to initiative or drive or striving? And I don't know the answer to that,
yes.
But it concerns me.
Let's take those questions one by one. Those do concern me, but I do have thoughts on them. In terms of inequality, I'm worried about this. There's an inherent social contract in democracy where ultimately, the ordinary person has a certain amount of leverage because they're contributing to the economy. If that leverage goes away, then it's hard to make democracy. It's harder to make democracies work, and it's harder to prevent concentration of power. And so, we need to make sure that the ordinary person maintains economic leverage and has a way to make a living, or our society, our social contract won't work. And that's why I think it's important.
During testing, your company's latest chatbot, Claude 4, was capable of what was described as extreme blackmail. Specifically, I understand it threatened to reveal an engineer's extramarital affair when it was told it would be taken offline and replaced. This was a simulation. Were you surprised by that? And what is that? I mean, that freaked me out when I read that.
Now, the stuff that they're getting into now, talking about some of the cons, right? Where they're talking about the blackmail, they're talking about Claude Ford and different things like that. All of that is present in all of those LLMs. These large language models, how they're trained, whether it be the machine learning, the deep learning, whether they're using RAG or CAG or the fine tuning, you can find corruption. I mean, think about it this way. Anything that has a use for good or the potential for something great or is just a game changer in any field has its dark side. And the dark side to those large language models, to those chat GPTs, is the things that you hear people talk about. Blackmail and critiquing and bashing and race and all of this other stuff. But here's what I'm telling you guys. If you want to get caught up on that about, that's why I don't know nothing about AI and I don't read about it and I don't want to become familiar with it. If you're going to hang your hat on what can go wrong, and that's why you don't want to do it, then I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to knowledge workers. I'm talking to the yous and me's who've been living a nice life or somewhat comfortable one where we can eat when we want, eat what we want, and go to and fro, work remotely sometimes, in the office at other times, whatever combination of that formula or recipe has been for you as a tech person on whichever level that is, whether that be hands-on server, switches, routers, whether that be with database applications, software development, QA testing, all the way on up. Whether you're working in a Microsoft environment, a Linux environment, a Unix environment, a Mac, whatever that is, whatever it is that you do, I'm talking to you if that's how you've been earning your keep. You want to be aware if they are pushing developers out, at the top end, they're getting rid of engineers and developers at the top end. That means there's going to be a lot to eat up when it comes to the bottom feeders. AI is going to become a bottom feeder. Why? That's why you hear now they talk about not just AI, but you hear talk of agentic AI. AI is an agent. And you say, well, what does that mean? Is that just a slick play on words when they say AI, and then I hear some people say agentic AI? Think about an agent, a call center agent. Think about an agent, a customer service agent. Add an IC at the end. That's an agentic agent. Think about that as AI. Right now, when you call first level customer service, you call first level agent somewhere, you can get some read-only, soft surface view of account information, what the billing might be, different things like that. So through a business day, let's say Monday through Friday, between a certain time and another time, you can call and get access to that first level of customer service that call center agent. And if you do it through certain business hours, depending on what time it is in the country or the place you're calling from, you can get transferred to either a sales rep, somebody that can look at your technology, tech support, and other things like that. But once that business closes, you might be able to still get access to that first level customer service or agent, but then they're telling you to leave an email or send an email or call tomorrow and get access to either the salesperson, a different level of tech support, so forth and so forth. Here's where the difference will come in, is coming in with the agentic AI. The agentic AI is not that one prompt, give me this information, one prompt, this, that, and that. The agentic AI is where you use the AI to actually do the work for you. In other words, even though the sales department is closed, or more importantly, tech support, or more importantly, another department that you need to speak to address your issues, whether it be 2 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, whether it be on a holiday or not. The agentic AI is going to be able to go several levels deeper to get information and maybe modify and change things, work for you, work for the customer, work for the client, work for the constituent of that business. And you say, well, why? What's the difference? Because the first level customer service person is not even trained or authorized to see that information. And even if they see that information, they're not even authorized to go over into another area that can make even more sense out of that information, or that can make a difference in the result in terms of their response to you. So you say, well, Talk, you losing me. You're saying that the people can't do it because they're not trained and they're not paid, and that's not why they was hired. But then you say the agentic AI, the agent can do it. That's right. Because the agent, the AI agent, it can take that first level call. It can hear us asking about this, that, and that. But then when we wanted to check something, or we need some additional information, or we need to make a decision, that AI agent, it's going to have access to areas the individual that was hired wouldn't have access to. How? It's going to use some type of API or MPC. That's what it's going to do. It's all about APIs and MPCs. And the reason why it's going to be able to use the APIs and MPCs, everything that it does is going to be logged. Everything that it does is going to have a logical workflow. Everything that it accesses, it'll be able to get to without needing the authentication or the credentials, but it would have that, what do we call it, OAuth, open authority or open authorization protocol in place so it can get to it. That's why if you pay attention to what's going on, these APIs are dropping off and these MPCs are becoming more pronounced. So if you're really a tech person and you want to get into something different, you want to become more aware and kind of get a sense of what's going on about how these agents are going to be able to get to all of these different areas and levels of access of data, or to make sense of it and actually work for people as an agent, you might, if you're not already aware, learn about MPC versus API. But back to the common, practical, you and me being laid off, not having a job, losing our clients. Get back to that. Here's the unemployment. Here's the unemployment for new college graduates. The unemployment rate for new college graduates is higher than the national unemployment rate in this country. Take a listen.
If you happen to be a recent college graduate or know someone who is, this next story might hit close to home. The job market for new grads is the toughest it's been in years.
Yeah, we're talking about real struggles here. The unemployment rate for recent college graduates has jumped to 5.8%, a 4-year low.
All right, so drag all those graduates up next to the TV set. There are big forces at play here, including artificial intelligence, hiring freezes because of trade uncertainty. To help us understand what's happening and what new graduates can actually do about it, let's answer those questions with Joelle Saad Lessler. She's the Associate Dean of the Undergraduate Business School at Stevens Institute of Technology. Joelle, I hope I got all that right.
I did. You did. Thank you.
Welcome. So let's just jump into it here. That's a high number.
It's a high number. It's definitely a challenging time for college grads, for recent college grads. The truth is, you know, is it like a 5-alarm fire? Sure. In September of 2024, it was 5.3, right? So what's concerning is not the level, but the trend. And since February of this year, we're seeing an acceleration of this increase in the unemployment rate. Yeah. And like you said, part of it is, you know, we've seen since 2022, since ChatGPT came out in in November of 24, there's been this upward trend in unemployment for recent college grads. And now it seems to be picking up speed since February, because on top of it, you have the uncertainty, and a lot of employers are just nervous about hiring altogether.
And you touched on it a little bit with AI, ChatGPT.
Right.
We hear people saying, oh, they're taking entry jobs away. Is that actually happening? Is the data showing that?
So if you think about what AI does, it takes away, or it replaces repetitive data entry, routine tasks, right?
Sure.
Hopefully, after 4 years of college, you can do more than that. If you can't,
but it is the way a lot of us started, that kind of job, and I started that way in TV, the repetitive stuff, the editing, running thing, tearing scripts, doing all that. It's the way a lot of college graduates get started.
So it might be true, which means that it's incumbent on the college grads to show their value more. They really have to show the employers what they bring to the table.
Got it.
Gotcha.
So if anything, I would say, you know, AI holds a tremendous amount of promise if you know how to use it. What you need to do is learn how to use it. Actually, at our school, at Stevens, we make a big point of all our students, we're training them how to use it so that when they go out to the job market, they can show employers, this is what I can bring to the table. This is how I can improve the matter.
Joelle, we just mentioned that the U.S. and China just came to a deal for a trade deal. So the tariffs and all of this uncertainty that the tariffs have caused, let's talk about the impact that it has had on companies that are trying to hire some of these grads.
Economic uncertainty is everybody's worst nightmare, okay?
Yeah.
Whether you agree with tariffs, you don't agree, whatever it is, nobody likes uncertainty. And that's what we're seeing. So even if today there's a deal, you know, there's still other deals pending. There's a lot of uncertainty with research funding. There's been a tremendous cut in research funding.
And sometimes businesses just pause.
That's exactly right. If I had a business and I don't know what's happening, I'm just going to sit on the sidelines. I'm just going to wait it out. The problem is that if you're graduating, you know, you kind of need that job.
Yeah.
And so if anything, you know, if you you have to.
Okay, so here's the deal on that, right? Like they said a mouthful, more than a mouthful, actually. And depending on what it is that you do, okay, what is your role at the company you're currently at? What is your business model in terms of you have your own business and you get clients? If you're a freelancer, if you're working through tech agencies, you're going to start seeing a shift. You're going to start seeing a shift in pay. You're going to start seeing a shift in opportunities. What type of opportunities are available and how often they may be. If you've been going on, let's say you've been on projects where they've been paying, let's say $120 an hour, $85 an hour, $50 an hour, that next project that they put you on that might seemingly be more intense and requires more knowledge, they might pay you twice as much or twice as less, depending on what's coming down the pipeline. I'll give you an example. Let's say all of a sudden you are a You're a database administrator, right? You're a database analyst. You're a person that knows about, let's say, something as simple as SQL Server, right? You can stand up a SQL Server, a NoSQL. You can you're familiar with Oracle. You can do database stuff, right? That's your thing. Well, guess what? They need somebody with vector database experience. They need somebody that understands vector embeddings. Why? Because the traditional database of relationships or relational database, that won't cut it for the LLMs. It just won't do it now, because you have experience and you have knowledge about these traditional databases, the relational databases. The learning curve for you is short. But we're talking about today, we're talking about now. Those coding assistants and other tools and resources that are available, real short, in the real near future, they could take somebody without that SQL experience, and that person could just focus on standing up vector databases, vector embeddings, and the so forth and the so forth. There's probably going to be opportunities to what? Migrate information from traditional databases as we know them over to vector databases to convert into vector embeddings. Now, there's not going to be anything special about your knowledge or my knowledge to be able to do that, because they're not going to revere and trust us in and of itself that we are the know-how. No, we're going to be the people that they're going to facilitate the tools to use because of our understanding. That day about how smart you are and he knows this and he knows that, that shit being stepped down. Let's say if you do graphic arts, let's say if you do video, let's say if you're a content creator for a company. Think about this. A few years ago, you thought somebody was smart, that they knew how to do what? That they knew how to do keyframes and masking, and they knew how to layer the video and remove the background and etch and sketch with the pen like a fine-tuned surgeon. You thought that person was special, and they was, because a lot of us didn't know one person that could do that fluently, thoroughly. We just didn't. We would just find somebody and look, man, we need this done, we need this done. Not no more. Why? Because Adobe's AI is Firefly, and that Firefly ain't a game. Firefly do most of that, and you still don't know what keyframing is, and you still don't know how to mask, and you still don't know how to etch. You ever use something as simple as Adobe Express? Did you see the new tools, the new AI inside of Lightroom, inside of Photoshop, inside of Adobe Premiere? You see the new AI tools available for DaVinci Resolve? That's over with. That one person, that sole source knowledge person, that's gone. Everybody got their own R2D2 now. Now I'm gonna play this clip right here, and it's talking about how it's gonna affect filmmakers, content creators, and so forth, right? It ain't about being replaced with AI, it's about being replaced with people who learn about AI. So check this clip out.
Justine, thanks for joining us. What is the future of Hollywood and human beings with AI right here, right now?
Well, two things going on. We have the more practical matters of kind of the dissolving of Los Angeles and Southern California, and everything that supports the business here, real estate values, tourism, everything. I mean, it's just going to be quite an economic disaster, considering how much in Southern California is in and around the business. The second thing is, as far as AI and film, I think we're going to see streamers using the years and years of viewing history that they have on you, and create customized pieces for you. They won't bother to copyright those because it'll be like Kleenex. And then for an upcharge, they can face replace you on films that they can license for this purpose from studios and other places that have libraries. You could say, put my face on Luke Skywalker's body today.
So we can, oh gosh, we've talked about it a little bit on my previous show, but it's kind of crazy to think about. So theoretically then, does time matter? Could Steve McQueen effectively make, and I'm using air quotes, make a new movie today?
Yes, of course. If his estate licensed his image, sure. So there's so much to say about this, but just you can imagine if you're a new actor, you're competing it used to be you compete against in auditions those who were your age, your look, and available during the time that the film's going to shoot. But now you're going to compete against every actor that's ever lived at any age.
I assume that Steve McQueen's estate could, and I love Steve McQueen, by the way, they could license that out for a ridiculously small amount of money. They wouldn't, but they could. And therefore, some human actor who's alive and trying to pay the rent and put food on the table is not going to get paid because the estate of Steve McQueen, which is already very wealthy, I'm sure, will get paid. This seems seismic for the industry.
Yeah, I mean, the industry that we had for 100 years is done. I mean, what we have now is sort of a conveyor belt of content, and then this, foray into basically the replacement of human labor with the AI elements. But there is a new film business that's emerging that me and others are part of. Like we have the Credo 20. There is a new film with the AI content. And then
there's nothing wrong with the video. I just wanted to play that back. I wanted to play back what she said. Listen to what she says. She said the industry as we knew it is done. Listen to what she says. She didn't say it's evolving. She didn't say it's morphing. She says the industry as we knew it is done. It's over with. Why? She says there's a conveyor belt of content. Listen to that. A conveyor belt of content. Because now in Hollywood and in other places, you're not just up against the current stars in your industry at a certain level, whether that be an A level, B level, C level, D level, on and on and on. You're up against all of the stars that ever existed where the content even exists. Why? Because their family can license out the content and how it can be used. Listen to what she's saying. Yeah, it's crazy. But then she goes to talk about a new paradigm, a new framework, new opportunities maybe. I'll be quiet.
Seismic for the industry.
Yeah, I mean, the industry that we had for 100 years is done. I mean, what we have now is sort of a conveyor belt of content, and then this, foray into basically the replacement of human labor with the AI elements. But there is a new film business that's emerging that me and others are part of. Like we have the Credo 23 Film Festival that we did this last March that was fantastic, and we'll do it again, where no AI is allowed and all the proceeds go to the filmmakers. And, filmmaking as an art will go forward. I think there's going to have to be new ways to distribute and stuff, and I don't know what those answers are yet as far as like financially, how does that remain healthy? But yeah, what is passing as the business right now is not what we used to have at all. And it was interesting to see that piece that you had on theater. I think, live performance or a mix of live with filmed, could be something obviously that people are interested in.
I love how all of the internet is eating itself and everyone's going back to live. That's a very fun theme coming out of this. Justine, it's Kelly here. And by the way, it's great to chat with you. So the music industry is similarly trying to figure this out right now. The Universal, Warner, and Sony are all trying to figure out how do they do digital fingerprints or something for the artist. Would you be okay if we all started to remix Justine Bateman and create AI products based on you, but you got compensated. I mean, that sounds to me like a pretty good revenue stream. I could make, I could be out there and make a cool movie or whatever and get, royalties for the rest of my life as people just remix things. Would that be of interest to you, or do you think it's very important that you're only involved in original productions?
Would never be of interest to me. I mean, I think it's quite soul-sucking to do that sort of thing. I know a number of people have and will, but I mean, I'm not an actor anymore, but I would imagine for a working actor or for someone who loves acting or, feels called to it, all you have is your voice and your appearance and the way your body moves. And so if you are licensing that out, I don't know, you've just given away your entire purpose.
Some of the most anticipated blockbusters of 2025 mostly shot overseas. In many cases, production budget cuts, multiple strikes domestically, and what some describe as a California tax incentive that's no longer competitive, taking Hollywood elsewhere.
I have seen people make comparisons of Los Angeles to Detroit prior to the flight of the auto industry, and I have heard people say that we are in an existential moment.
Film LA, an organization tracking the decline, found that 2024 was the worst year for the industry in Los Angeles, only second to 2020 during the pandemic.
So far, year to date this year, we're coming in below that. We posted a 22.4% decline in on-location filming for the first quarter of this year.
Many films, TV shows, commercials, not only going overseas, but also shot in states like Georgia, Texas, or Tennessee instead of California.
Everywhere I go, it feels like a ghost town. And what's happening is there are the days where we'd work, 5 days a week have become 3 days a week, have become 2 days a week, have become 1 day every 2 weeks.
Thousands of supporting roles impacted too.
How's work been over the last year?
It's not been good. For the past 18 months, I've worked 3 months.
Shooting, editing, hair and makeup, costumes, the list is long. And while some can travel with production, others based here can't, including Wes Bailey's studio services company, Surreal.
Had to lay people off, had to downsize everywhere. People are doing 2 and 3 jobs, having to try and just to try and keep us, solvent.
Business, he says, is down about 40% over the last 2 years.
The vast majority of our industry is a blue-collar and middle-class labor force. It's a lot of really good jobs that have benefits when we have the work here. These are not people that can just, jet off to anywhere.
To try to get the jobs back to LA, Governor Gavin Newsom proposed a $750 million a year tax credit program. And 2 companion bills making their way through the California legislature also hoping to increase the state's tax credit program. If passed, experts say it may work.
It's all about the money in terms of this, because that is what drives the production costs up. If you have to shoot somewhere else other than LA to keep your profitability up and your costs down.
So you guys hear it. There's just so many different combinations of ways that people are either trying to spin it, they're trying to make it happen, they're trying to forecast it. But here's the thing. Nobody's denying what's taking place. Nobody's going to deny what's to come. And that's what you have to be aware of. What I say to people is, if you are a knowledge worker, if you are part of the knowledge economy, you want to couple your current skills with AI tools. You want to get to understand. If you're walking around here talking about forget AI, I don't care about AI, it don't have nothing to do with me, you might be in a position in your career where it may not have anything to do with you. I don't know how that's going to be, but you might be. But if you are a knowledge worker, if you're part of the knowledge economy, you want to wake up. You want to look around. You want to get away from them people that say, forget AI is not real. Them people tripping. I don't know what they smoking. I don't know what they eating. They tripping. You want to take your current knowledge and you want to increase or augment, as they say. Augmentation or augment is a word that you hear thrown around now, because augment is to improve, augment is to make better. Augment, if I don't sound right, the word I'm talking about is spelled A-U-G-M-E-N-T. okay? But let's take a listen to this clip here where they talk about the end. Like they're talking about the end of the knowledge economy.
In the old world of education, you were rewarded heavily from being able to memorize and regurgitate. I would argue in this new world, the knowledge economy is kind of fading away, and your ability to memorize facts is becoming less important. And instead, what's replacing it is critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, a different way of thinking. So I would argue that kids cramming multiple majors and trying to ingest as much knowledge and information as possible is decidedly not preparing them for tomorrow's world. And I'm seeing it in the workforce. I'm running my company. I have a 300-person startup, and the ones that are really excelling aren't necessarily the ones that have the most knowledge per se, but they're the ones that can think on their feet. They're the ones that look at AI as a tool to problem solve, and more importantly, are adept at identifying the problems that need to be solved. And that's really where I think a lot of people get AI wrong, is they get so very much obsessed with the tool, when I think the real benefit's gonna come to those who really focus on what's the core problem I need to solve in my business, and then focus on it, go step by step at a time until you have a solution. And that's how I kind of learned about AI, got my hands on it, and started to build solutions for myself that really got me inspired to write the book.
Michael Crow was making a very similar point, and I do wonder then what that means in terms of the value of soft skills.
Yeah.
And I guess, again, it goes back to education, but the value of soft skills and what that's going to mean for future jobs, which you have a pretty crazy stat. I'll let you break it down and then we'll dig into that, but we'll start with soft skills.
Well, I think soft skills are everything. If you think about, let's just say, a graphic designer, right? Say you work for an advertising agency and your mandate is to promote the F-150 truck, right? And you know, in the past, if you wanted a photo of, let's just say, a dog riding the truck, drinking a soda in the sunset in Arizona, you'd have to figure out the right lighting, you'd have to get a photographer, you'd have to get all the production, everything together before you got that shot. But today, even if you use ChatGPT 4.0 image generator, you just have to give it the prompt, and if the lighting is right, not right, or the shadows are wrong, or you want what the dog is wearing around his collar to change, you just have to tell it and it'll change. And so what does that mean? It means what's the future role for a graphic designer or photographer or an editor of graphics? Probably not so strong, but for the person that has the idea to have the dog riding the pickup truck into the Arizona sunset, if you have that idea, which solves the problem that your customer needs, well, that's what's going to be rewarded. So it's very much about, again, identifying the problem versus knowing how to solve the problem. Knowing how to solve the problem is the areas that AI is really going to come in and do for you, but you still have to know how to put these new tools to work to drive yourself forward and your business forward, whatever that means.
So jobs, certain jobs, white-collar jobs, those are going away.
The knowledge economy jobs are going away faster than I think many of us think. You know, you guys have all seen the headlines of Microsoft cutting 6,000 employees. I mean, there's a company making tens of billions of dollars of profit a year. And they say that the future's already here, it's just not evenly distributed. But where the future is distributed is to Microsoft, is to Alphabet, is to these large, incredible companies. And I think what's gonna happen next is you're gonna see companies that employ middle America, the FedExes, the Home Depots, the Walmarts of the world, coming in and saying, you know what, we've adopted AI. And instead of them cutting 6,000 people, they're gonna cut 50,000 people. And I think it's gonna be here before we know it. And I think it's gonna create, in the short term, just a lot of concern and a lot of pressure on American workers. The hope is over time that as companies become more productive and they bring more to the bottom line, that they're gonna reinvest in innovation. But the question is, can the people who are originally on the wrong side of it reskill? Because
So the knowledge economy, that's the premise, right? That's the title, that's in the description. A knowledge worker, the knowledge economy. What can you do? What moves can you make? What position are you in? What is your clients? What is your business? What is the field? I talked to my niece the other day. I talked to my niece last week. And my niece was telling me, and she's a third-year developer. This is her third year as a developer. So I guess first year, then you're a junior developer, and then she's not quite a senior developer. This is her third year. And she told me, she was like, Uncle Todd, we have our own LLM now. I said, you guys have your own LLM? She was like, yeah, they rolled it out and we're using it and different things like that. And I asked her, Was you part of any meeting, any conversation? Was you part of any think group, meeting of the minds, ideas, suggestions before they brought it in the planning stage? Did they include you? Were they informing you of the group or the department that you worked at? And she was like, no. I said, well, you need to get ready. Because if you was not part of that conversation, not that she should have been, I'm just saying ideally, that's what I was saying to her. Ideally, conceptually, principally, if you have no awareness that that LLM was coming and you're a third-year developer and your first finding about it or awareness was you being informed by your company, you figure the rest out yourself. Just figure the rest out yourself. Let's talk about what they say the potential bloodbath could be for white-collar jobs.
The job market is changing faster than ever. According to a study by the World Economic Forum, nearly a quarter of all current professions will change in the next 5 years due to AI.
Half of entry-level white-collar jobs disappearing and 10 to 20% unemployment in the next 1 to 5 years.
The tech sector is already being hit, but this will spread to many other sectors of the labor economy.
Tech has already been hit, and other industries are just months away from massive cuts.
Even the CEOs of the largest AI companies in the United States are warning about the potential consequences.
CEO of an artificial intelligence company warns that AI is about to wipe out millions of jobs in the next few years, even calling it a bloodbath.
The effects of this labor revolution could bring significant consequences, potentially leading to unemployment rates never seen before.
It's not just tech. The CEO of a major AI company says could wipe out half of all the white-collar starter jobs, possibly causing unemployment to soar as high as 20%.
So how could AI eliminate nearly half of all white-collar jobs? The accelerated advancement of artificial intelligence is transforming the global job market in unprecedented ways. What was once limited to repetitive manual tasks or data processing has now evolved into tools capable of executing complex cognitive functions that were historically the responsibility of entry-level administrative workers.
Use cases for AI continue to grow. There is one industry leaning hard into the technology: customer support.
A report by McKinsey & Company estimated that generative AI could automate activities that currently represent between 60 and 70% of the working time in certain office occupations. The most vulnerable positions are those focused on routine information processing, rather than human judgment, empathy, or interpersonal skills. For example, in the customer service area, AI-powered chatbots already handle more than 85% of first-level support requests in large tech companies, up from 30% in 2020. Similarly, law firms are using tools like case text to conduct legal research and draft contracts in minutes, tasks that previously took a junior lawyer hours.
At a fraction of the cost of a human lawyer, Browder says he is able to use his software to help everyday Americans battle legal issues, such as traffic tickets and evictions. So far, he says his company has helped in more than 1.5 million cases and saved his clients millions of dollars.
A report by the World Economic Forum projected that by 2027, approximately 83 million jobs could be lost globally due to AI and automation. Most concerning is that the majority of eliminated jobs are entry-level or junior roles. Likewise, Goldman Sachs estimated that 300 million full-time jobs could be affected by generative AI, with a greater impact in developed economies due to their reliance on office work. In the U.S., the report identified that up to 46% of tasks performed by entry-level employees could be automated in the next decade. In concrete terms, if these projections are fulfilled, between 10 and 12 million entry-level office jobs could disappear in the U.S. alone, considering the current size of the administrative workforce. And the behavior of large companies in 2024 and 2025 reflects this transformation.
All right, the layoffs that are rippling through the tech industry aren't showing any signs of easing. IBM is the latest tech giant to do so. The company announced it will cut about 3,900 jobs, mainly in its IT services segment.
Companies like IBM, Deloitte, and Accenture have announced pauses or significant reductions in junior-level hiring. The CEO of IBM stated that the company planned to halt hiring in roles that could be replaced by AI, especially in human resources and administrative support. These roles represented about 26,000 employees within the company. Similarly, Accenture announced in its 2024 fiscal report the cut of 19,000 jobs, mainly among non-billable and entry-level staff, while increasing its investment in training and deploying generative AI. Even in sectors like finance and marketing, junior analysts are being replaced by AI tools that offer faster, cheaper, and more scalable solutions. The collapse of entry-level jobs has also affected internships and training programs, which have traditionally served as gateways to the professional market. According to the National Association of Colleges and Employers, the number of internship offers from Fortune 500 companies dropped by 22% between 2022 and 2024. In the tech sector, the decline was even greater, around 34%.
A blunt new warning for American workers. A tech CEO says artificial intelligence is about to wipe out millions of jobs.
This decline is directly related to the growing use of AI in internal processes. Companies are finding that young workers, once essential for tasks like transcription, data labeling, or content moderation, are no longer indispensable. As a result, fewer and fewer graduates gain the experience needed to advance to intermediate positions, creating bottlenecks in long-term professional development. In addition to eliminating jobs, AI is also contributing to wage stagnation in administrative roles. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco, real wage growth in entry-level professional jobs fell by 1.8% in 2024, in contrast to a 2.4% increase across the overall economy. This stagnation is partly due to the oversupply of candidates competing for an ever-shrinking number of openings, as well as the corporate preference for AI-based solutions.
Many young people across the country are finding it difficult to find summertime work.
The labor market also posing a big challenge for young people looking for a summer job. A new report suggests there's been a steep decline in the number of temporary jobs available.
Economists also warn of a growing polarization of the labor market. While advanced technical and executive positions remain in high demand, and low-wage service jobs persist due to their physical or interpersonal nature, the middle tier, traditionally filled by young college graduates, is disappearing. AI is not only increasing human productivity, it is directly replacing it. Whereas previous waves of automation, such as spreadsheets, supported human work, generative AI can perform tasks from start to finish without human intervention.
And it reflects a troubling increase in businesses and companies opting to cut back human tasks in favor of technology.
A 2024 MIT study found that the adoption of AI led to a 19% drop in job postings involving repetitive cognitive tasks, while job postings for AI engineers and product managers rose by 11%. This asymmetry suggests that for every new job created in AI, 2 to 3 junior jobs disappear or are never posted.
So you heard that, right? You heard that. Think about what they're saying. They're saying now that, someone that knows Excel, right? So you take somebody, traditionally, right? If you had somebody in your group, in your organization, on your team that knew Excel, they're the person you go to. They do the pivot charts, they do the calculations, they do all of that Excel stuff, all that wonderfulness in Excel. That's not as impressive anymore. You know why? Because of Copilot. Because of Copilot. Microsoft's AI for Excel is Copilot. It's the same one in all of their Microsoft suites. They have Copilot. So now a person that prides themselves off of their Excel knowledge, that's wonderful. They got to step it up another level. They got to become so fluent with Copilot as a tool, as a resource, not compete against it to know more than it does, because that's a waste of time. The person that knows Excel, they have to see the potential in Power BI. They have to see why what you currently do in Excel is scalable at an enterprise level to something like a Power BI. And then they say, well, what about the calculations I do in Excel, the formulas and all that? Well, they have that in DAX. Power BI has a module over there called DAX. That's Data Analysis Extensions. You can have all those calculations on steroids over there. That's how you're going to augment and create a new level of value for you if that's your current situation. But if you sit there thinking nobody can concatenate like you playing yourself. You're playing yourself. So anyway, guys, I'm getting ready to wrap it up. Like I always say, it's your boy Talk Williams, host of Creative Hip Hop 50th. Thank you for stopping through, leaving a comment, shouting out, whatever you do. Thank you even more if you find value in this and you subscribe. I appreciate everybody. But if you're a knowledge worker, you're definitely part of the knowledge economy. You gotta get ready, man. It's either ready, set, go, or it's ready, set, lay off. You pick what